Welcome to More Than Saved, a video memoir, part 3. In part 1, we laid the backstory of how I came to know the Lord. In part 2, I shared some of those initial faith-building, amazing answers to prayer. From here on in, all the videos are going to be shorter because they're focused on a particular topic or event as it unfolded in our lives. In today's episode, it's the story of how trusting God and taking Him at His word gave me calm in what could have been a pretty desperate situation. And because of the calm, I was able to see the person standing right in front of me. That would be Charlie.
So I took the job in New York, and most people think of, New York City, Times Square, Manhattan, all that, Broadway. But actually, I was in upstate New York in the Adirondack Mountains, and it's like a wilderness up there. Beautiful, pristine. And people would come from around the world during the fall just to see the foliage because the mountains would be covered with brilliant, spectacular colors. Unimaginably beautiful. And it was such a perfect environment for me because I love the woods. And my favorite place to be is in a cabin in the woods. And my favorite smell and time of year is fall, when you go outside into the woods and it smells like leaves and trees and it's crisp and cold. I love that. I got to go mountain hiking all through the year. It was great. Anyway, I also love the people. I belonged to a great church there, small church. We all knew each other, prayed for each other, saw answers to prayer. That was really great. A wonderful singles ministry. The pastor and his wife were dear. I loved the congregation. And the guys I work with in the shop, the bake shop and the kitchen, they were attached together, and they were all wonderful. I loved them and their wives and their kids. And actually, the students all had different stories. Got to know them as we were working. Oh, how did you come to know the Lord and wind here up here? And through hearing all of their stories and being around so many great quality people, I began to feel like, I'd really like to have a life companion just to share everything with. And singleness was going to become an issue pretty soon. But before it did, and I was settling in, being so far from, real civilization, gave another opportunity for a fun story. We actually had a place to buy groceries. It was tiny. But you could drive 45 minutes away to Glens Falls, and there they had everything, mall, and full-size supermarkets and stuff. So I drove down there one day, and just as I was arriving, smoke started coming out from under my hood, and I mean it was thick black smoke pouring out, and I was panicking. I didn't know if I would make it to a gas station. Pulled into the first one that I saw, and there's only a kid on duty because it was Sunday afternoon and I had driven right after church, and so there were no mechanics working. And I said, well, do you know how to work on engines? He said, no, I just know how to pump gas. He was just a teenager. His name was Charlie. And so he said, well, do you live near here? Can somebody come get you? I said, well, actually, I live 45 minutes away. And he said, oh, well, sorry for you. Well, yeah, I'll skip that. But I said, well, God's got a reason for everything, and there's some good purpose in this happening. And he laughed. And he said, oh, so you really think that God has a good purpose in letting some single gal drive 45 minutes from her house and then be broken down with no mechanic available to help her? You think God's got a good purpose in that? I said, well, yeah, he must, because his word says so. And Charlie said, well, what do you think it is, lady? I said, well, maybe he wanted me to meet you. And Charlie sort of freaked out. He's taken aback, and he goes, well, what do you mean meet me? What would you want to meet me for? I said, well, I don't know. But could I ask you, if you were to die right now and stand before God, do you know that He let you into heaven? He said, no. Can you know that? I said, yeah. Would you like to know how? And he said, well, yeah, okay. And so I explained the gospel to him. He wound up receiving Christ. and right after that, of course, after that, both of us remembered the mall. And I said, doesn't the Sears at the mall have an auto center? He said it does, and actually I think that they might be open whenever the mall's open. Let's call. So he called over there. They were open. We got my car over there and they fixed it. It turned out just to be a hose thing. and then I was able to go home after I shot. But every time I went into Glens Falls, I would go to that gas station for my gas, and I'd check up on Charlie and see how he was coming along. I didn't actually disciple him, but he would always have questions, and we'd spend some time talking. So that was really, really fun.
To be honest, I don't always let God's word guide my thoughts and actions. But when I do, I'm always glad I did. That's what walking by faith is. And when we walk in that pathway, we will not miss the good works that God has prepared for us to walk in. Has trusting God and taking Him at His word ever led you to unexpected joys, opportunities, or even kept you out of trouble? Write about it in the comments below, and then tell the people in your life about it. Join the conversation about how awesome God is.